Hello guys, my name is Troy. Welcome back to my booktube channel, guys. Right now, when you are seeing this, I am going to be either like on the plane to Las Vegas or I'll be there trying to find my hotel or even in the hotel when you guys see this. So just give me an hour or two to get, settled, and then I'll respond to comments. I'm just not sure when I will be able to. Hopefully I can respond to comments. But yeah, guys, I am on my spring break, guys. I am so excited to have a break from all the stresses of YouTube and schoolwork. I am literally so thrilled, to be leaving North Carolina for a little bit. So yeah, that's happening. And I think I said Arizona a lot in the last video. I'm going to Las Vegas for like 2 days, and then I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon in Arizona and some other cities, and I'll update a lot of you guys in the comments and stuff with how my trip is going when those videos go out. So anyways, back to the topic of the video. Today I'm going to be going over my dystopian recommendations. And for those of you that don't know what dystopian is, like utopia, like big kind of awesome heavenly places that are just so good and perfect. Well, dystopian books are the opposite, where there are worlds where they are frightening and like you don't want to be there, and like a lot of the worlds are kind of collapsing, or like the government systems are corrupt. And so these books are all kind of in dark settings where the characters are having to defeat these dark evils and turn the world into a better one. And so I've actually discovered like recently that I'm a lover of dystopian, and that I've really been reading a lot more dystopian than I thought. Like, even guys, this book isn't on my list for today since I've kind of already talked about it, but Cinder from the Lunar Chronicles, this is actually considered a dystopian because of the lunars and stuff. And so yeah, basically a dystopian is any book that you don't want to take place in because the world is kind of sucky and it has some corrupt systems in it. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 of my favorite dystopian and some recommendations for you guys. Anyways, I think this intro is really long, so let's just get straight into the video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel down below, and also check out my last video up there. It was a reading struggles video. That was such a fun video, guys. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys about all my bookish struggles, like how my books are damaged, or how I have a never-ending TBR, or how I can't read when like there's noise. It's just a really fun video, so I definitely recommend you guys check that out. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video with my first dystopian recommendation. Alright, so my first dystopian recommendation that I have for you guys is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is actually a story I've been reading like for a while now. I've read this first story like a couple times now. This is a series. There is like a trilogy, and there's like a kind of a spin-off book, but I only like the first one. Like, I do not recommend the second two. I got through the first one like a couple times. I loved it. The first one is like 5 stars. The second one is boring as heck. I don't remember literally anything from it, if that tells you anything. And the third one, I like read 20 pages before I got bored and I had to put it down. That's how that series went. But the first one, guys, I only recommend the first one. It is amazing. Love the first book in the series, and I just count this as a standalone and reread the first one a lot. So this book is set in, I think it's a futuristic world, or either a past world. I think it's futuristic, where there's another kind of corrupt government system. I think like when you turn like 14, 15, 16, in that kind of range, you are sorted into different factions in this world. So there's 5 different factions, and they all have different like properties. Like, there's the Dauntless, who are the kind of like fearful, kind of daredevil kind of people, and then there are the, I can't remember like all the names of the factions, but there's like the smart people, they're like the Amnesties or something like that are all like emotion based. And so there's 5 different factions. I'm pretty sure there's 5 with different kind of sets of values. And so when in that age range from like 14 to 16, the group of citizens are sorted into these. They all choose which one they want to go into, and then they have to live with that faction for the rest of their lives, and like they can't see their old families. And so this book follows Triss as she goes through that sorting, but she finds out that she is divergent, which means that she actually, when she takes the tests for these like sorting processes to kind of guide her to which one she knows, she comes up divergent. She has like 3 possible factions she could go into, and she just doesn't have a defined one. And in this world, divergents are really bad for the political system because they can't be controlled. And so we find out later in the book that people are trying to kill divergents. And so this book just follows again like a corrupt government system, a corrupt like political system in general, and it's really good. And Triss actually ends up going to the Dauntless faction, which is why I only remember that kind of faction. And, you know, it's very cool because it's so daredevil-y, like they're jumping off of buildings and they're, you know, going down zip lines and like fighting each other. It's a really, really good story, and there's a romance involved and there's fear involved. I love this book so much, and I just totally recommend the first one, guys. I'm probably gonna read this soon again because I haven't read this in a while, but seriously, guys, love this book. Totally check it out. Super addicting, and you guys are gonna love it. All right, let's get into the next book. Okay, so the next book that I want to talk about is The Hadley Academy for the Improbably Gifted, and I think it's about time to kind of review this book a little bit because I did get sent by an author, like a publisher, and I never really reviewed it. I got sent this in October and I've never reviewed it, so I thought I should talk about it. And I actually did enjoy this book. So yeah, this book is really complicated, so let me struggle through talking about this because it's like a fantasy, dystopian, urban, contemporary. It's really confusing. So basically there's this guy named Jack. He's suffering through this, you know, another school day, and like he goes to the bathroom, he's walking through the halls. Suddenly this soldier comes up to him, he like takes him and like recruits him into this fantasy academy, and like he sends him through a portal, and then all of a sudden Jack is thrown into this world with like this Hadley Academy. And in Hadley Academy, these warriors have these improbable gifts, like growing trees and like turning plants into metal and like weird stuff like that, and they're using that to fight shadow reapers, which in this world, shadow reapers, they are roaming through the world and they are like sucking people's shadows and like turning them into shadow reapers. And so it's kind of like a plague almost. And so like the dystopian in this book is with the shadow war, the shadow reaper war. And basically Jack, he doesn't have those improbable gifts, and so we like watch him as he goes on his story. Like, does he have gifts? What is his gift? People prophesize him as the guardian, and he goes through this weird Hadley Academy experience. He has to get a team of recruits and he has to like save himself, and it's like such a weird story, but it was so good. Like, I was really impressed by this because I thought it was like a small book, small author, I wasn't gonna like it, but this book was so crazy with like all the different elements. There's so much fantasy, like dragon elements, and there's sci-fi elements with all like the technology and like the hacking and stuff. And then there was just this crazy dystopian plague going around, and Jack having to go to the Hadley Academy where he didn't belong and having to save everything. Like, seriously guys, I cannot explain this, but this was such a good book. And if you do have a chance, check out the Hadley Academy for the Improbably Gifted. It's a middle grade, just kind of fun read. It's not like really dark or emotional like a YA book. It's just kind of like a fun, depressing book, you know? So yeah, let's move on to the next book. I'm not even gonna pretend like I just sat here thinking the camera was recording for 3 minutes talking about my next book, and now I don't have that footage, but I talked really goodly. But yeah, next book is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I really, really enjoy this series, and I definitely want to, you know, share my thoughts on it and why I, you know, really like it. So this book is very popular. It's also a dystopian. It's kind of like a political dystopian where there is a corrupt government. So this book takes place in the future of our world where there is, I think it's like they're confined to one state, where there is a capital and it's like sprawling. There's a lot of resources, there's good technologies, everyone is rich, and then there are 12 capitals surrounding it, and they're all poor, and they're having to fight for their lives, and they're having to labor. So yeah, there's a clear difference between those two. And so in District 12, one of those 12 districts, Katniss Everdeen is the main character, and she's fighting to keep her family alive by hunting for food and gathering, you know, resources. And in this world, there are the Hunger Games, where 24 people go into the Hunger Games each year from the 12 districts and compete for their death, and compete for their lives, basically. So they all have to try to kill each other and be the last one standing, and just like a short like elimination kind of game. And then in each district there is one girl chosen and one boy chosen. So this book follows Katniss as on the Reaping Day, the day where they pick the names to go to the Hunger Games. Katniss's sister Primrose is selected to be in the Hunger Games, and she volunteers herself in Prim's place to be in the Hunger Games. So this book follows Katniss as she, you know, goes through the Capitol, you know, navigates the kind of politics in the Capitol, and how she fights for her death or for her life. Same thing, I guess. And through the Hunger Games, and even has a romance. And as the story goes on, it gets even more complicated with, you know, the government and how she has to defy the president and all this complex fun stuff. But this book is really good because you can just feel like kind of the tension everywhere, you know, she goes. There's always going to be tension just because of this corrupt government, and you just see how Katniss fights, you know, the government throughout the series, and how she you know, has to take power into her own hands, and she has to acquire that power for herself. And so I really did like the series. The second book, I don't have it on me, but second book, Catching Fire, actually was like my favorite book. It was the second book of the series, and the Mockingjay was my worst favorite because of the ending. The ending knocked the book's rating down by 1.5 stars. Just the ending. Like, the whole book before that was 5 stars. The ending knocked it down 1.5 stars, so that might say something for you guys. The whole series in itself is good. I really like the first book. I really like the Hunger Games feel, where there's, you know, eliminate people and the number gets dwindled down, and Katniss slowly starts to defeat everyone, and yay, it's fun. It's great. I love this series so much, and it is definitely somewhere I don't want to be, so it's fun reading about all these kind of like troubles, and definitely check it out if you have not already. Alright, next book. My next recommendation to you guys is The Giver by Lewis Lowry. Some of you guys saw this in my 10 books I'm loving video, but this is also a dystopian where we are set in this world where there is no memory, there's like no pain, no fear, no color. It's just like a really dull world, and that's like the dystopianness of it. Like, you don't want to live somewhere where there's no color and it's all bland and it's all idyllic. Basically, in this community where Jonas lives, it's not like the whole world, it's just this one community where they have this. There's like this cycle. The kids grow up, they get like different kind of responsibilities, they go into jobhood, they die, blah 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 blah, and it's like this endless cycle. And so this book is kind of about breaking that boundary and kind of receiving those memories back of color and pain and stuff. And so we follow this boy named Jonas as he goes into his 12th birthday, where he gets assigned his job. And so at the ceremony of 12, Jonas is assigned this job called the Receiver of Memory, and he basically has to receive memories of color and pain from the giver. And this book kind of takes place with him learning all these new things. Like, he's never seen color before, and so we see him kind of like seeing red and orange, and then we see him fighting to get the memories back for his people and to, you know, return wherever they live to, you know, its regular state. There's even some romance, there's even some action, and it's really good. It's like a really short book, and I love that about it. It's just like quick, to the point, nice story. It's like a bedtime story. I love it. Just overall, the whole premise is they live in a boring world, and Jonas is set out to break the boundaries and the rules of, you know, the boringness. And so that is kind of the main idea of this book. The Giver, again, was just really amazing, really short, sweet story with romance, action, a lot of elements that you guys would see. It's also a classic. It was like made in 1990, and I just like to reread it every few months. Like, I read this 2 times in 2019, and I plan to read it a few times in 2020 as well. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for The Giver. Let's move on. This might be like the 5th or 6th video where I talk about this book, and I even read this very recently, but still, it's like the 5th or 6th video I talked about this book because I love it so much. It is Cytha by Neil Shusterman. I really think a lot of you guys have already seen me talk about this, but I mean, I'll go over it again. The book is amazing. It's like a kind of a futuristic dystopian where in this story, humans have mastered death, so they can't die of hunger, they can't even die of like hurtling themselves off a building, they can't die off of disease. There is no such thing as death except for fire. They cannot master fire for the odd reason or whatever. They're immortal. Humans are immortal now. Yeah, humans can like reset to their childhood and they just can't die. And so now overpopulation is a problem in this world, and the dystopian kind of factor of this book is the Cyths. Cyths are there to control the human population, so they have to kill a quota of people each year to kind of keep the population in check. So they have to like kind of kill people each day, or like 5 people each week or something. That's kind of what I heard. And so like they have to kill like something like 250 people per year, and so that's their job, to keep the population in check. And it's very frightening for a lot of people. The Cyths are literally people's deaths, and so they kind of go their way to like treat them well and stuff. And so this book follows Citra and Rowan, 2 apprentices for a Cythe. So Cythe Faraday, one of the Cyths in this world, wanted to take 2 apprentices, and so we took 2 apprentices, and then it actually turns out that they had to compete for each other in the end. And so they're like competing for this spot as apprentices, and they're learning about the history of the Cyths and the culture. And it was really interesting read. Again, you probably heard me talk about the story in like so many different ways. I love this story so much. It really brings up a lot of ethical topics that we're dealing with now and that we'll have to deal with in the future. And this accurately shows what's going to happen in the future, I feel like, because as much as you might want to disagree with me, I'm sure that humans are going to master death at some point. And so this accurately describes that. I mean, maybe not in the same way, like with the cloud in the sky, like giving them information or something. I really enjoyed this, and I'm excited to read more dystopians and like futuristic sci-fis like this, because I feel like dystopians and sci-fis really show what's gonna happen in the future, and like accurate to like possibilities of what might happen in the future, like Hunger Games or any of the other ones like Divergent. Like this stuff can happen in the future if the government goes corrupt. I really enjoyed this story. I hope y'all can pick this up because it is so good. Read Cytha by Neil Shusterman. All right, that is the last book, I think, so let's wrap up the video. Okay guys, I think that wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of learning about some of these new dystopian books. Well, I don't say new, but just some of my recommendations for some dystopian books. I hope you take some value for this. I know some people don't like dystopian, and that's okay. I just wanted to share some recommendations for you guys of some books that I enjoyed in this genre. And if you guys have like a genre that you would like me to do in the future of some recommendations, then I would definitely love to hear them. I love video suggestions if you have any in the comments. But yeah, I would love to hear any thoughts on this. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed. I would love your likes. Those really do help me, and they kind of tell me how my videos perform. Like if a video gets less likes, then I know that I don't want to do any more videos like that. Subscribe to my channel down below if you see that little red part, and also turn on post notifications so that you can get notified whenever I upload new content, and you can click on my notifications and you can just be chilling and show up to my videos as soon as you can. It's amazing. Also, make sure to comment down below your thoughts. I would love to know, have you read any of these? What are your opinions if you have? Do you want to read these? Do you have any connection to these? Have your parents read these? I don't even know. Like, just tell me something about the video, and I would love to respond to you guys again as soon as I can. I don't know if I'll be there for the video launch, but I'll try to respond to your comments as soon as I can in Las Vegas. Also, make sure to check out this video up here. It was my February reading wrap up where I told you guys what I read in February, and I have more thoughts on Cytha because I read Cytha in February, and so you can just see 3 books that I read in February and just some pretty interesting books that I think you guys might like. Guys, have an amazing rest of your day. I love you so much. Again, wish me safe travels on my trip, and I will see you in the next video. Love you guys so much. Bye guys!